Memphis Grizzlies coach Tomas Isolo called his shot with Jaren Jackson Jr. And also, there's a lot of good shooters in the NBA right now. One of the best resides in Memphis. I'm going to tell you why. Coming up here on Locked On Grizzlies.
You are Locked On Grizzlies, your daily Memphis Grizzlies podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's going on, everyone, and welcome back to Locked On Grizzlies. I'm your host today, Damichael Cole, beat writer for the Commercial Appeal right here in Memphis, Tennessee. Thank you for tuning in to Locked On Grizzlies, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the number one sports podcast network in the land. Today's episode of Locked On Grizzlies is also brought to you by FanDuel. If you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. So make sure you go take advantage of that now over at FanDuel. What a good night it was for the Memphis Grizzlies out in LA at the Intuit Dome going against the Los Angeles Clippers. I feel like we've been saying that a lot lately, going against the Los Angeles Clippers. This third time the Grizzlies played the Clippers and the third time they beat the Clippers. Grizzlies won this one pretty comfortably, 121-103. A lot of encouraging performances, some really good performances to break down. We talked about Jaren Jackson Jr., Cam Spencer. We're going to talk about those guys in the show. We're also going to talk about, an injury that happened with Ja Morant later on in the show as well. But overall, solid performance from the Grizzlies in this game. Jaren Jackson Jr., 31 points. We're going to talk about him. Jalen Wells, 16 points. Cam Spencer, 27. You got 12 points from Ja Morant, 12 points from Cedric Coward. We felt that rebounding would be big in this one. The Clippers won the rebounding battle 39-32. The other thing that we talked about as we previewed this game was the importance of Jaren Jackson Jr. And that's what we're going to focus on in this first segment because that delivered. The Grizzlies delivered on that, and Tomas Isolo delivered. Jaren Jackson Jr. delivered because he's the one that's got to make the shots. But, we've been a little hard on Isolo from time to time with, some of the ideas that he's brought to the table that just aren't usual, in the NBA, a little unusual in the NBA. And, we've kind of just come to the point where you got to start to see some of these things through as he collects the data. That's kind of his approach. So I've gotten to the point, it's like, okay, we'll see, as the season goes along, what these things mean. But we got to give him some credit because, again, I'm going to reference this a couple games ago, and I asked him about Jaren's struggles. Jaren entered this game 5 consecutive games with less than 15 points. It's just not Jaren Jackson Jr. Sounds like something of a role player or something, but that's not Jaren Jackson Jr. And one of the things that Isolo said, this was a couple games ago. This was actually after that last game against the Clippers, because one of the things that he likes to do is right after a game, he's very careful with how he breaks down, the game immediately following the game, because in his eyes, he has to go rewatch the film and then he'll get a better indication of what really happened. So that's kind of his approach to it. So instead of breaking down, I believe that was against the Blazers that game. Instead of breaking down, how Jaren played against the Blazers, he talked about the previous game, which was against the Clippers. And he said, we have to do a better job of getting Jaren Jackson Jr. the ball. He felt like the Grizzlies passed up on a lot of opportunities to get Jaren the ball. They went to the next action when they could have got Jaren the ball and let him cook. And guess what? This game against the Clippers start immediately different. Immediately a difference from the very first possession. Jaren gets a bucket. Next possession, drives to the basket. I believe he gets to the free throw line. Then he scores again, after that. And it was like, okay, it's very clear. Get Jaren the ball. Get out of the way. That works. This is a guy who's graded out over the course of his career, especially in the last 3 or 4 seasons, as, a pretty good isolation player. We've talked about the need to space the floor better and things like that. Jaren Jackson Jr. was super effective in this game, from that. So credit to Tomas Isolo for helping him get going, but it's a mindset thing too. And again, Jaren has talked about the fact that he's liked some of the shots that he was getting over the course of this season. But in this game, we saw a difference. I think with Santi Aldama being on the floor, the floor spacing element that Santi gives you, a whole nother level. I mean, sometimes it looked like the Grizzlies were 5 out at the perimeter, and Jaren would get the basketball at the top of the key, and he's attacking straight downhill at Ivica Zubac. Zubac is a strong defender, but his best defensive work comes as kind of an interior presence. Jaren's got him on his back heels, going downhill, driving at him, and he just didn't stand a chance, on several of those drives. So we saw Jaren with the spacing, right? The spacing that the Grizzlies have tried to or talked about getting him, and we saw the results of that. 13 of 18 shooting from the field, and it also helped that Jaren knocked down some 3-pointers, 4 or 5 from beyond the yard. So that was definitely part of it. And then you talk about when you have a strong offensive showing like this, guess what happens? Now you look over at his defense, and then boom, 5 blocks, 2 steals. It's not a coincidence to me because that's energy. That's, I'm feeling good on the offensive end, and it's going to transfer over to the defense. Now you got this energy he's playing with. Now, some of it is also Jaren is pretty much the back line of the defense without Zach Edey being on the floor. He's the guy who has to protect the rim. He's always aggressive, with his hands defense. So you see a lot of times guys will be driving to the basket against Jaren, and he'll reach his hand in there a time or two, before trying to block a shot. But he ended this game with 2 steals, 5 blocks, so 7 stocks in addition to, the 31 points. I mean, it was just a big stat sheet stuffing night. He definitely didn't get a lot of rebounds. I think he finished with 4 rebounds. I know that's always a talking point with Jaren, but solid performance, his best performance of the season high scoring numbers, the blocks, the steals were there. And now, to me, the question is, how repeatable is this type of performance? And we ask that because some people, in a way, it's almost frustrating when you see Jaren play like this, because it's like, where's this been? We know you can do this. You go back to last season, we saw a lot of nights like this. This wasn't some unusual night that we'd probably be highlighting the way we are on Locked On Grizzlies on today last season. This was a day at the office for a large part of the season. But with the struggles that we've seen that have been with just not shooting as much, like 18 shots in this game. Last game, he was 6 of 13 from the field. 13 shots ain't enough if you're Jaren Jackson Jr. More aggressive. He was getting downhill, the spacing. All of the shots that we saw looked very repeatable. So maybe not this level of efficiency every single night. Like 13 of 18 is really good stuff, especially the 4 or 5 on 3-pointers. He's definitely not going to repeat that. No one in the NBA is repeating 4 or 5 on 3-pointers, on a consistent basis. But with all that being said, this is a repeatable performance from the standpoint of the aggressiveness that we saw. Jaren getting the ball and, being forceful. There was a key stretch that I want to point out. And it was the beginning of the second half. Jaren shot a 9 of 11 from the field in the first half, had 21 points. And I was curious to see how much of this is going to carry over to the second half, because we've seen, the flip-flop stuff, not just even with Jaren, but just with players in general. Sometimes you get off to a hot start, team adjust, you don't have the same aggressiveness, whatever the case may be. But I wanted to see, is Jaren going to be as aggressive? And in those first 3 or 4 minutes that he was in the game in the third quarter before he subbed out, no shot attempts. And at the same time, the Clippers went on a run, 11-0 Clippers run during that stretch. And I'm looking at it, I'm like, how do you watch this guy go 9 of 11 in the first half and he gets no shot attempts for 4 minutes? Or how does he not demand the basketball? But then Jaren goes out, takes his little break, 4-minute break, whatever, 3-minute break, however long it was, comes back into the game. Boom, puts his shoulder into a Clippers player's chest, puts 2 hands up in the paint, gets the ball, immediately scores. I said, oh, never mind. There it is. That aggressiveness is going to be there the rest of the night. That's all I had to see. Once I saw that, it's going to be there the rest of the night. And it definitely was. It's really big for the Grizzlies to see that. It's repeatable. This is something he can do. This was not some out-of-body performance at all. This is something that's actually similar to what we saw a lot of times last season. The question is, will he do it? So, you talk about this next game, you're going to be seeing Julius Randle, Rudy Gobert, Naz Reid in the front court. Jaden McDaniels is going to be lurking behind those guys when you're driving to the basket, trying to get that block from behind, with those long arms, that he has. So you're going to see a really talented Timberwolves front court, in the next matchup. So I want to see if we're going to see that same aggressiveness in that game and then for other games going forward with Jaren Jackson Jr. But next up on Locked On Grizzlies, we got to talk about another player, and that's Cam Spencer. But before we talk about what Cam Spencer did against the Clippers, today's episode of Locked On Grizzlies is brought to you by FanDuel. Look, NFL Sundays move fast. One big play and suddenly everything feels different. That's what makes live betting with FanDuel so exciting. You're not just watching the game, you're reacting to the game in real time. With FanDuel, you can place bets on the action as it unfolds. Every drive, every momentum swing, every highlight moment. Live betting is best when the game starts to shift. Think about, when the underdog starts to get the momentum and then suddenly that team becomes the favorite, or a wide receiver gets hot, a defense gets hot, or basketball, a little shooter gets hot. FanDuel lets you jump into the moment. Live spreads, money lines will adjust instantly. The player props will update as guys continue to heat up. And you can even bet the next touchdown score. You think a guy's going to score on the next drive, or you think the team's going to punt on the next drive. You can bet drive results as well. So many options to keep you locked into every snap, every drive, and every possibility. So if you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com. Place your NFL live bets all season long. FanDuel, the game moves fast, and so can you. The Memphis Grizzlies, they got themselves one of those snipers. They got a high-level shooter and Cam Spencer. We knew this coming into, the season. We knew this coming into his NBA career. If you saw him in college, you saw him winning the national championship, with UConn and all that. But it's another level we're seeing right now. You can make an argument that we're seeing the hottest streak in the NBA of any shooter. Steph Curry just went crazy a couple games ago. I think he made 12 3-pointers. But Cam Spencer right now, when it comes off his hands, you might as well close your eyes if you're the opponent. And you might as well just watch if you're a Grizzlies fan, because it's going in. That's the feeling right now. Against the Clippers, season highs, career highs, 27 points, 7 made 3-pointers. He finished 7 of 10 from the 3-point line. Started off 7 of 8 from the 3-point line. So going back to that last game where he was 6 of 6, when you factor in the 7 of 8, at one point he was 13 of 14 over the last 2 games on 3-pointers. That's just unheard of. Even if you throw the 2 misses in there, so what? That's still unheard of 3-point shooting. 13 of 16 over his last 2 games. And the numbers get even better because this is some just 2-game stretch here. This is what he's done consistently over the past 10 games. You're talking about a guy who's been in double figures, 10 consecutive games off the bench, all these games. 10 consecutive games in double figures for Cam Spencer. A lot of that has been the shooting. This is why I say the Grizzlies might have the hottest shooter. No, I'm going to throw that out. The Grizzlies have the hottest shooter in the NBA right now. 35 of 55 on threes in his last 10 games. You know what that number says? Not only is he making a bunch of them, that's over 63%. Over 10 games. Not only is he making a bunch of them, he's shooting over 5 per game. You remember the whole thing he's talking about? Luke Kennard? Not like Luke Kennard. Great guy. Extremely accurate shooter. I used to talk about this all the time. One of the things I used to say is when, people say, oh, Luke Kennard's one of the best shooters in the NBA. I say he's one of the most accurate shooters. When he shoots it, it's going to go in a lot of times. But is he one of the best to me? You got to factor in volume. Cam Spencer's one of the best. Cam Spencer's getting those shots up. Cam Spencer's coming off those screens. And if you hesitate you don't even got to hesitate for half a second. You know how they give you you got 0.3 seconds in the NBA, 0.4 seconds to get a shot off. Anything less than that, you got to tip the ball in. You got 0.4 seconds with Cam Spencer. If that hand's down, man's down. It's going in. That's just what it is right now. He's coming off those screens. He's looking to shoot. He's throwing up heat checks. his shooting is just elite at an elite level on display right now. We're watching one of the hottest shooters in the NBA, and he's instantly coming in and changing games for this Grizzlies team, with his 3-point shooting. I think we've seen it again over this entire stretch where we talk about he's been one of the hottest shooters in the NBA. In this game, 30 minutes played, plus 29. And a lot of his time on the court coincided with other guys on the bench. Vince Williams Jr., Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, Jock Landale. All four of those players, Cam Spencer included, finished plus 25 or better. And again, look, we don't get too deep into plus minus, but this was an example. When Cam Spencer was on the floor, the Grizzlies were rolling because he was knocking down shots at a high level. The defense was playing well, too. So shout out to Cam Spencer for just, he's been rolling because this isn't some one-time thing here. Again, over these last 10 games, double figures in all these games. And then there's another part of this game that's been really good too. It's not just that. It's another part of this game that has been really good, and we're going to talk about that here in a second. But first, thank you for making Locked On Grizzlies your first listen every day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Now we got to shout out our everydayers because guess what? You've already lived your team every day. Now take it up to another level and go ad free. Join the Everydayer Club and get Locked On Grizzlies with no interruptions, members only, Discord access, and more, all for just $5 a month or $50 a year. We'll put the URL here, or you can check the link in the show notes to learn more. Thank you for making Locked On Grizzlies your first listen of the day, and thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. If you're a true Grizzlies fan, the Everyday All Access tier is built for you. You'll get one-on-one text access with me, all access episodes, exclusive newsletters, and a 15% discount to the Locked On merch store. So make sure you go check that out and join the Everydayer Club and unlock all access. You can also find the link in the show notes. Now let's get back to Cam Spencer and his terrific performance against the Clippers. But again, it's not just the shooting that has really stood out with him as of late. It's the playmaking too. He had one pass in this game where he came off a screen. I think he saw two bodies, and he looked to his right. Looked like he was about to just swing the ball on the perimeter, and then he just zoomed the pass into the paint to Jock Landale. Jock Landale didn't have any other choice but to catch the ball and lay it in for an easy layup. And he's had several passes like that. Like Cam Spencer has been throwing some dimes over that same 10-game stretch where we're talking about, he's averaging, where he scored over double figures in all of those games. The assist numbers have been really good. He tied the team high against the Clippers with 6 assists. He's averaging 5.2 assists over his last 10 games. So we know the shooting, right? That is the big thing with Cam Spencer, but it's not just the shooting. And it brings me to the last part of the whole Cam Spencer conversation, because Cam Spencer has done enough to play more. He played 30 minutes in this game. He's played a lot more in recent games. But it's an interesting kind of dilemma that the Grizzlies have. As you've seen lately, even with him playing more, he hasn't been closing a lot of games, particularly with Ja Morant being back, because this goes back to the whole thing about, the smaller backcourts, the defensive limitations and things like that. When you have Ja Morant, who's going to close games when he's available, and you throw Cam Spencer in there alongside of him, now you only can have one of Jalen Wells or Cedric Coward on the floor. Is it worth it? That's up for debate. We can debate that another time on the show. Is it worth, that? But you lose the defense if you take off Cedric Coward or, Jalen Wells, and of course you gain just this surplus of offense with a guy like Cam Spencer on the floor. So that's kind of the pick your poison, or, whatever you want to go, the conundrum that the Grizzlies have to kind of figure out, with Cam Spencer, because he's more naturally a 2 guard. Even in this role as a combo guard, he's a smaller guard. And, defense, he's going to give you the effort, but he's not known as some great defender. So it's kind of like, okay, you got Ja Morant already that, he has some defensive limitations just being a smaller guard, already. And then that's why you went out and got a Cedric Coward to pair, with a Jalen Wells, to put those 2 bigger defenders on the perimeter to give you, the difference making that you'll need against a lot of these top tier Western Conference teams who have, multiple guys on the perimeter that can go get buckets at any time. Like in this game, you're going against Kawhi Leonard and James Harden. And you were able to say, hey, we got Cedric Coward and Jalen Wells to guard those guys. So that's going to be something that we'll kind of just continue to unpack, because at this point, Cam Spencer's playing so good, it's hard to take him off the floor. But you got to weigh those things, as you factor that into the conversation, just how much he's going to play. But coming up here on Locked On Grizzlies, we're going to talk about one of those guys that may affect his playing time, and that's Ja Morant. But before we get to that, today's episode of Locked On Grizzlies is brought to you by Skims. When Skims announced that they were making underwear for men, the reaction made perfect sense. People have been talking about Skims comfort for years. Most guys, though, stick to whatever they've been buying since college. Same fits, same waistbands, that roll, and all that. But Skims Men's changes that. One upgrade, and it's obvious why everyone's been talking. Look, once I tried Skims Men's underwear, I got the hype immediately. They're designed to feel good, fit right, and actually stay put. No slippage, no sagging. And you don't really got to adjust them either. Just genuinely great underwear that makes you feel confident and comfortable. They don't ride up. They don't lose their shape. And they hit exactly where they're supposed to on the thigh. And look, I honestly didn't expect underwear to be a game changer, but Skims completely surprised me. Shop Skims Men's now at skims.com. So make sure you go take advantage of that. And when you place your order, choose podcast in the post-purchase survey and select our show from the dropdown to let them know that we sent you. Plus, the Skims Holiday Shop is open. So if you're looking for the perfect gift this season, Skims has you covered. If you're looking for me a Christmas gift, go over to Skims, because you'll have me covered over at Skims too. This episode of Locked On Grizzlies is also brought to you by Wayfair. That's another place you could go if you're into the holiday season, because the holidays always show up faster than we expect. And if you're still putting together those gifts, last minute decor, or just getting your home ready for the guests, you're hosting the party this year, Wayfair has you covered. Whether you need a quick room refresh, new bedding, or those final seasonal touches, Wayfair makes it easy to get what you need and fast. Wayfair truly is your one-stop shop for everything home, with decor, furniture, kitchen essentials, and gifts for every style and every budget, all delivered quickly and easily. You can choose whatever fits your voice. The selection is huge. Again, bedding, decor, kitchen gear, kids' room updates. You'll find everything easy in one place. The Wayfair items you order will instantly refresh your space without a big project. And Wayfair is perfect for gifting too. They have guides, tons of options, and something for everyone on any budget. No massive delivery fees and no stress. Get last minute hosting essentials, gifts for all your loved ones, and decor to celebrate the holidays for way less. Head to wayfair.com right now to shop all things home. That's wayfair.com, WAYFAIR.com. Wayfair, every style, every home. Make sure you go take advantage of that now over at wayfair.com. Oh, everything was going great for the Grizzlies against the Clippers. Everything was going so great. And then there was 3:44 left in the fourth quarter, and Ja Morant hurt his ankle. Appears to hurt his left ankle, hopped off the floor after he twisted it. Looked like he stepped on a Clippers player. I believe it was Visa Zubac, stepped on his foot, and you saw his ankle kind of twist there, and he hopped off the floor, went to the bench, appeared to be in some pain, didn't get back in the game after that. Now, the game was pretty much in control. I mean, the Grizzlies up, I believe, 116-93 at that point. Like, there was no need to put him back in the game, so that could have played into the equation. But again, it's a frustrating thing, when you talk about Ja. He's literally just got back. He's currently on a minutes restriction. He was about to, finish that game playing around 25 minutes. I think he ended up, around 21, and he was around 25 minutes in his last game. So he's kind of on a minutes restriction right now. Didn't even get to reach it because of the injury. So, we'll see kind of how this unfolds. And Ja had 12 points, 4 assists in this game. Wasn't really, a great game for him. He's still kind of finding his way back and whatnot. Again, the bench won this game for the Grizzlies, and Jaren Jackson Jr., Jalen Wells was solid, but this was a game where, Cam Spencer, Vince Williams Jr. really gave the Grizzlies a big push late there in the third quarter when they pushed the lead to double figures. I believe 14 points going into the fourth. A lot of that was Vince Williams Jr. And we talked about the other guys that played a role in that as well. But Ja Morant hurting his left ankle. This is something to make note of. One, because a left ankle sprain is the same injury that kept Ja out for the preseason. If you remember, he participated in the training camp practices, and then it was right before the Grizzlies had their open practice, the fans to come in right before preseason action started. Ja Morant got hurt in a practice, and he hurt his left ankle. Did not play the entire preseason. After the preseason wrapped up, regular season basketball started. He had ankle braces on. It's first time in a while that I've seen Ja kind of, wear something like that. Like I remember he wore the high top Kobe's, before after dealing with ankle sprain and things like that. But that was notable to me. And again, there was also a point this season against the Boston Celtics in November where Ja missed one game due to right ankle soreness. So that was just some soreness. The left ankle was a sprain. So what we know going forward right now is the number one thing with ankle sprains, soreness, however you want to describe it. When a player hurts his ankle during the game, it's hard to tell right then and there, the severity, unless it's, probably really bad or not like bad at all. Like if it's, something that they can easily come back in the game from. And even sometimes in those instances, it's adrenaline. And we see cases where guys sleep on it and, it's sore in the morning or whatever the case may be, or maybe it's not that sore. And you're like, oh, it's not that bad actually. So it's always one of those things where you got to wait it out and see how the ankle responds the next day. So as this day continues to unfold, we'll have updates. So follow me over on X at Damichael C, or you can follow my coverage over at the Commercial Appeal. We're going to have updates on Ja Morant's playing status as the Grizzlies get ready for a game against the Minnesota Timberwolves. Again, the Grizzlies have played a lot of games without Ja, so we already know, what it potentially would look like without him if he misses a game or two or whatever the case may be. And if he's able to play, that'd be great for the Grizzlies because Ja needs the reps right now. Like, even though he finished with 21 points and 10 assists in that first game, there still was some lumps in there. And in this game, there were definitely some lumps as well. So it's like, in order for Ja to continue to work his way back and get to the form that, Memphis needs, from him, he's got to be out there. He's got to be available. He's got to get those minutes. And we see, look, Jaren Jackson Jr. played 33 minutes in this game. So the minutes will eventually come, for him. I'm sure Jaren played that many minutes in part because Zach Edey's out. But I think the fact that he handled those minutes well, with the intensity that Tomas Isolo likes to see, I think there's a better chance that you'll see him, getting, more similar games in terms of 33 minutes going forward. But with Ja Morant, again, we'll monitor the situation out throughout the rest of the day. It's one of those situations where you just say, man, one of my coaches used to say, if it wasn't for bad luck, you wouldn't have any luck at all. And that's kind of, how it feels, in a way, with Ja Morant. Just these are, he stepped on the player's foot. He's been wearing the ankle braces, so he's definitely taking the extra precautions to protect his ankles. But when you step on a guy's foot and the twist comes there, it's just one of those freak things that tends to happen, in the NBA from time to time. But again, we'll monitor the situation and have updates as the day goes on. Thanks for tuning in to the Locked On Grizzlies podcast. Make sure you tune in and on tomorrow. Make sure you subscribe, follow the podcast so you can get all the latest updates. The Locked On Grizzlies make your Spotify rap. Prove it on social media to secure a free month of our brand new Everydayer Club. Just tag our national Locked On Podcast Network account on any social platform and we'll drop a code. Be one of the first to join the Everydayer Club to get your favorite show ad-free and exclusive access to the members-only Discord channel. You make sure you be there for the members-only Discord channel because I'm going to be in there. You can ask me whatever you want. If you got a problem with anything, just come in there and we're going to talk. Because that's where we're going to be. That's going to be our place. But for those of you on video, we send you to the first ever 24/7 national NBA YouTube channel. On audio, make sure your second listen is NBA Game Night on Locked On NBA. Make sure you go take advantage of that opportunity. But thank you for making Locked On Grizzlies your first listen on today. Make sure you continue to like, comment, rate review, and subscribe. All those things. And remember that Locked On Grizzlies is free and available wherever you get your podcasts. I'm Damichael Cole, and we'll see you on Locked On Grizzlies.